Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I had a little victory yesterday. This was funny that this happened. I did that chaos stream on chaos last night on Charlie Manson, man. And I was just reading the part where he's talking about the Manson family involvement with the NIMH, which is the National Institute for Mental Health, and their
Mm.
ties with the Haight Ashbury Clinic in San Francisco, and all this stuff. But I just read this. This is because this is totally synchro, bro. I just read this, and then somebody I know, sent me a thing about. We've been talking about reading in various books, and they sent me a thing about literature for kids, right? And books that influenced them when they were little. And one of the books in the picture was the Secret of Nim. And I thought, oh, well, I just been reading about the rat experiments at Nim, right, which was where they fed rats LSD and then they fed them amphetamine to see the differences in the two. And I thought there's got to be a connection. So I just did a simple, Google search, and it said, yes, there is a connection. The person that wrote the
Mm.
book wrote it after they witnessed the experiments at Nim, and then I sent it back to the person expecting, oh, you're insane. But instead, I got back, wow, you just blew my mind. And then they did for a further thing, and they looked it up, and it said that it was a quote from the author, and it said, "Yeah, I witnessed the experiments." And I thought, "Oh, what if I make a children's book out of this?" Which is the yeah,
Golly.
and I said, now you see why I say the things that I do, and they said, yes, I do. And I thought that was a small victory, because that sort of thing obviously sounds insane to the normie mind. It blows the normie mind, right? Did you know
Well,
that? Did you know that Manson was involved with the secrets of Nim, man? But
yeah, a
but
lot of this stuff is becoming a lot less
yeah,
crazy and hard to
uh
believe.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy to me sometimes. Well, and I don't ever bring this kind of stuff up, and unless it's a debate. I mean, if it's around certain people, but it's amazing to me how people, who I would never think would be into anything kind of, outside. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I just mean they wouldn't get into the kind of stuff that, that we talk about, and then people like the most unexpected people will bring stuff up, and they'll like hit me with something, and it's like, what, you know about that too? And it's wild. You never know what it is people know. And I think a lot more people, I don't like the term waking up, but I don't know, I think more people are gaining an interest in kind of what's going on beneath the surface of things.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it's hitting closer to home too, kind of like I said earlier, like as far as it hitting close to home, like I said, with harder to ignore, especially with corruption in politics and the Gil Bates and the Epstein and stuff. I mean, it's just gotten so egregious and in your face, and it's affecting our lives directly now, and so there's just less people who are that thick-headed that they can't see. Oh, there's something going on here. And if they're capable of doing something like Epstein Island, well, what else are they capable of? I keep flip flopping back and forth. I mean, we know the solutions aren't political, but we also know that you can have an impact, and it's not for everybody. I'm certainly not a political type person, but I do think that there are types of people out there that do get involved in stuff, and I think it does have an impact. Obviously, if an entire town, if you've got a bunch of people in town that aren't cool with them shipping migrants into your hotels and housing them up, like you can get
Right.
them gone, and a big part of why America is in the situation we are is because we've been so disenfranchised and just beat down that the men are just weak, myself included, and we just put up with it,
One
and
example of what Jerry's talking about here is that a couple weeks on Boiler Room, Hesher and them were helping Ruckus move into this place in New Mexico, and right after that happened was when the New Mexico thing happened with the 2A thing, and they were, they're active in that sort of thing, and then a little bit later, they the government in New Mexico was sued because of that, and a judge made some sort of ruling, and I see that as related to that. I mean, um, I think that the whole thing was probably some sort of test run psyop. I don't think everything is a psyop, but I think that the thing was so outlandish that it had to be some sort of test run.
mm,
But I see that as that was an actual involvement in something that was happening right away, right away, which is crazy. Also, Uh, unrelated. I saw Mersh and them talking about. They showed Jerry, did you see the video of Buffalo? It was
No.
before. It was before. It was a tailgate before one of the Buffalo games, and they said Buffalo is lit.
Bill's Mafia, dude.
Yeah, the Bills tailgate is lit up, dude.
Oh,
they
go
said
hard.
Buffalo is the Daytona of the North, and I thought, dude, fuck yeah, we gotta go. All right, road
They
trip.
go.
We're
They go hard
we gotta
over there.
go up there.
Yeah,
Honestly,
we go hard up here.
I've seen a couple clips from the tailgates, and it actually does sound like when you see people out there in, you know, like negative 20 degrees, like jumping on tables and breaking them in half. I was like, that actually looks like a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Well, my family's involved in the biggest tailgate in the country, which is the Ole Miss down there at University of Mississippi tailgate, which doesn't have a lot to do with the game. It's just a gigantic part. I mean, they have whole houses like set up in the parking lot, you know, interior decorators and houses and, you know, mint juleps for miles. So that'd probably be fun.
I gotta say, the SEC school, nobody does decadence better than the SEC
right.
schools.
Yeah, the reason why too, I off topic, I keep hitting on the migrant stuff is because it is hitting close to home for me. Right down the street, we got a bunch of hotels, and they've completely taken over the hotels. I mean, it's all people from Venezuela and from all these places, El Salvador, and there's been 3 rapes already, like violent predatory rapes right around the premises, and you know, they're walking around everywhere, and they're just it's their country now. And they were talking about, they had the mayor out. Oh, we're gonna bring in the National Guard to prevent it, and you know, I haven't seen them at all. It's just like, it's insane, dude. It's impossible to ignore. You know.
Well, and I mean, the problem you get with that is when, I mean, this is one of those things where you kind of see how countries, at least in the West, are becoming irrelevant. I mean, we all know, like, there's about the erosion of borders and whatnot, but then when you have even ostensibly conservative politicians who are like, oh, those people are even more Americans than the people whose families have been here for 200 years who are complaining about them, like they're the real Americans. And It's like, okay, then why even have a country? Like, why even have a country anymore? If people can just show up and be like, okay, yeah, this is my country now. I'm an American. I'm more American. Your family's been here 200 years. I got here 2 minutes ago. I'm more American than you. It's like, then what's an American? Why even have a country? There's no point anymore.
That's the goal. That's the point.
Yeah.
Right? That's the point that they're pushing, and that's what they're after. And it's crazy, man. It's like, you know, I much like what BLA was saying, it should always stay the same, and that's how it's felt my whole life. I just don't see that going on much longer. You know, like you said, we're in the middle of the Great Reset, and I don't think things are going to be staying the same for much longer in America.
I see small incremental changes, slow kill, soft kill, until there's a gigantic galvanizing event. You know, a Big 9 or a Karanka or something. I don't know when that'll be, but it seems to be pointed toward, you know, that we're headed towards that at some point. Who knows again when it'll be, you know, 2025, 2030, right? Agenda 2030. Who knows? But there will be some sort of galvanizing event because right now, first of all, the news feed is too slow. It's too frivolous. Too much frivolity, and then throwing in the aliens and throwing it, and it just all keeps converging until there's one thing that can be blamed on the next thing, where the big group will be named. You guys see the interview with the Saudi Arabian guy? What's his name? The king, the prince in Saudi Arabia.
The MBS.
I happened to see it last night. It was on in the background and I kind of listened to it, but it was the first interview. I think it was the first major interview that he'd done. And it was crazy because there's all this stuff about the line, right, in Saudi Arabia and the future, the Google city. I mean, in real life, right? The line city, which is the future cube.
Oh, dude, about that. We got one like getting built right around here, dude. One of those 15-minute cities. Yeah, they're turning one of our malls into one. Yeah. Like there's one 10 minutes from my house.
Yeah, there's one.
They closed all the stores in the malls. There's signs everywhere. They're literally turning it into a 15-minute city.
Yeah.